What's up, guys? Welcome back to Mindset Matters. This episode is produced by Mindset Media and brought to you by the Empowerment Through Mindset Foundation. Cue the intro. Welcome back, guys. We have with us today Dr. Rick W. Smith Sr. So we're excited to talk to him about his experience. So I'll give you a little bit of information about him. So Dr. Rick Smith Sr. is the college president for North Lake Campus, Dallas College. He has over 30 years of diverse experience in executive leadership and in higher education with nonprofits, healthcare, and also with the media. Dr. Smith is celebrated for driving transformation, building impactful partnerships, and championing student and community success. His record includes securing over $150 million in fundraising and launching major workforce initiatives. In addition, he has shaped institutions across multiple states. His humanity, his vision, and his entrepreneurial mindset have empowered thousands. His story offers a powerful lesson for those who seek to make lasting impact. So we'll talk for a few minutes about the roles that he has held. I'm going to let him, because there are so many of them, go down the list of the different roles that you've held.
Well, first off, thank you for inviting me here. I look forward to the conversation. I've been looking forward to this for a little while. So yes, I've had an interesting path through the presidency of Dallas College North Lake. I spent 9 years as a TV news reporter and producer and anchor. Started as an assignment editor in Louisville, Kentucky, and spent some time in Cincinnati, Ohio, and actually had an opportunity to work with Jerry Springer when Jerry was a news anchor before he became the Jerry Springer that we all came to know. But 9 years in TV news. I was a healthcare reporter and producer in Cincinnati, Ohio, and had an opportunity to get into healthcare at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. That launched a 23-year healthcare career that really took me around the country. Had a wonderful career in healthcare. Spent time in Cincinnati. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, Albany, Georgia, Dothan, Alabama, Danville, Kentucky, and in Louisville, Kentucky. But it was in 2016 I found my way to higher education with the Kentucky State University, which is the state HBCU in Kentucky, where I tell people that I really found my passion, just because of the transformative power of higher education. So spent a few years at Kentucky State, and then had an opportunity to help start a college, believe it or not. In these days, there are still colleges starting. Had an opportunity to help start the Kentucky College of Art and Design, which is Kentucky's only independent private art school, which was a wonderful experience. I have a son who is an artist. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. But helped them get started, saw them through licensing and accreditation. Then had an opportunity to go do the same thing in Pennsylvania, help a college called the Northern Pennsylvania Regional College, where I served in the senior vice president role. Wore a lot of different hats there. It's a small school, so just a great foundation for me is learning to be a higher education administrator. And while doing that, I also had the great pleasure of serving as a president of the United Way chapter, president of the United Way of Ross County, which is near Columbus, Ohio, Chillicothe, Ohio, exactly. United Way is something I've been passionate about for a long time because of the mission of helping people and their service in education and workforce and food and security, things that the United Way is known for. So I had a great opportunity to do that and lead that wonderful chapter. And then came back to the Commonwealth after that. Was working for the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education. Had a wonderful mentor, Dr. Aaron Thompson, who really poured into me and really helped keep my higher education journey on track. You'll hear me talk about mentors a lot. I know we'll have that discussion here. But started doing a lot of workforce development work for the state. Led something called the Healthcare Workforce Collaborative. Worked with a group called the MI2, which is the metals industry. So basically, it's sector work. So did that, and then rounded out my Kentucky higher education working at Simmons College of Kentucky, which is Simmons College is the state's private HBCU. So I had an opportunity to work at the public HBCU, Kentucky State, and the private HBCU, Simmons College of Kentucky. Kentucky, two magnificent institutes of higher education, great experiences there, wonderful people. But then received a phone call from a recruiter looking for someone to take on this role as president of Dallas College Northlake. I had a great conversation, which led to a meeting with our chancellor, Dr. Justin London. It made me feel right at home. So I came here to help lead that campus and lead. We do a lot of sector work sectors. So I lead the construction sector for Dallas College.
Man, that is a lot.
It is a lot. And, I know we're talking to some entrepreneurs here. So my entrepreneurial ventures are, I've owned a company, Smith Consulting Company, for over 30 years, where I do a lot of different consulting, different areas. And then one that surprises a lot of people, I have a passion for cars. Love cars. I've had a lot of cars, probably too many cars over the years. So I decided to buy a car lot a few years ago, and I was a small car lot owner for about 4 years. It was a great experience, but decided, the car lot business wasn't for me. It was called One Stop Motors. I had a good time selling cars, but got out of that and got back on track and doing, what I'm doing right now, and that's working in this higher education industry.
Man, such a diverse journey. Yeah,
it was.
And we talked about a little of this before we started, but just the journey you took, kind of not traditional, and we'll kind of get into a little bit about that. But I want to kind of finish introducing you. So you have an educational doctorate in higher education administration from Bradley University.
Correct.
A master's of philanthropic studies from the Indiana University. Purdue University, Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. You have a bachelor's in broadcast communication from the University of Louisville.
Mm-hmm. Louisville.
Louisville.
University of Louisville. You're going to get me in trouble, but yeah.
And my apologies.
No, you're good.
You also have multiple executive fellowships and certificates from Harvard and Clark Atlanta University.
Yes, and Cornell and Indiana Purdue University. So yes, I do.
You have multiple.
It's been a great journey.
Yeah, and one last thing I wanted to mention too. Actually, there's two things. So you also have some honors. So you were inducted into the Halls of Fame, recognized as the best boss, and featured as the keynote speaker for major civic and engagement professional organizations. You're an active mentor and board member throughout Texas and Kentucky.
Absolutely.
So multiple states there. And then this one is something I just learned a few minutes before we started, which you were the author of 2 books. Moving the Goalposts
Correct.
Is the name of the first book. Mm-hmm. You have an upcoming book, which is going to be called Say It With Your Chest.
Say it with your chest.
So
your presence is your power. Yes.
Very nice.
Excited about the Keep Moving the Goalpost was my first book by myself. I've contributed to some chapters in others' books, but this was my first venture, and it's loosely my story, my professional journey, some of my personal, but mostly my professional journey, and how I got to where I am right now. And it's about mentorship. It's about persistence and stick-to-itiveness, if that were a word, but just don't give up. Find your goals and get a mentor, which, again, I know we'll talk more about that, but that's what that book really talks about.
That's such a powerful message.
It really is.
Speaking of your personal story you talked about, that's where I like to start with guests. So we'll start with your origin story. Tell me a little bit about where you're from and how your journey has informed who you are today.
Sure. I've been blessed. It's been a wonderful life, and I hope to live many more years, but my life so far has been absolutely wonderful. Blessed to have 2 wonderful parents, and Paul and Mary Smith from Danville, Kentucky. But my parents joined the military back when my father, when they were very young. So I was actually born in Okinawa, Japan, on Kadena Air Force Base. Unfortunately, we moved when I was just a baby, so I have very, very little memories of that time. But Okinawa is a beautiful place. I've seen lots of pictures and hope to go back to visit there sometime. But born in Okinawa, Japan, raised all over the country. Spent a lot of time in Maine, a couple of different places in Alabama. I was in Illinois, certainly Kentucky, and then we came back to Kentucky in Louisville, Kentucky, where my father retired back in the mid-'70s.
Wow. That's quite a journey.
It is.
That's quite a journey. And how many siblings did you have? Siblings?
I have 3 older brothers.
Okay.
So yeah, it's funny because the brother closest in age to me is 6 years older. So my coming up, I was really almost the only child because they were older than I. They were already kind of out of the house. The brother closest in age to me, because he was in high school when we moved to Louisville. The third of the brothers, Paul. He's a retired major from the Marine Corps. He was actually in his senior year in high school. Then I had another brother who was entering his junior year, and I was going into sixth grade. So I had to follow up those two because they were pretty popular and did a lot of things in high school, but I was able to go through there and kind of do my thing. My oldest brother, Lawrence, is a former television news reporter and anchor himself. He graduated from high school in Maine. So one of us graduated in Maine and 3 of us in Kentucky.
Wow. That's interesting. And what I'm noticing here with your early journey is the well-traveled, very well-traveled. How do you think those perspectives that come with being well-traveled influence the way you look at things?
I think it absolutely influences how I look at things. It influences how I move. I was always the new kid in school. So that people sometimes don't believe this when I tell them, but I'm naturally an introvert, which is odd given the type of work that I do. That's always been external facing, but I'm more of an introvert. So if I have my dinners, I'm probably on a beach somewhere reading a book, kind of hanging out by myself. But because of my career, I've kind of learned to be more extrovert, attributes. And I really, I point to my childhood of growing up and moving around a lot, really leading to that. Because being, the new person, if you're just going to sit back and, be quiet, you don't meet a lot of people. So I kind of formed myself who I am to get out and go talk to people and play sports and different academic programs, et cetera, and kind of. That's what shaped who I am today. It's funny when we moved to Kentucky. Like I said, I was entering the 6th grade, and I ran for student council, and I got voted as student council president. So I have a dubious honor in Fern Creek High School, Fern Creek Middle School, and Fern Creek Elementary School. I was president of the elementary school student council. I was president of the junior high school student council. For 1 year, they had a middle school, so I was president of the middle school student council and president of the high school student council. So the local paper actually did a story about that, so it was kind of fun. So that kind of set the basis for all the stuff that I would do later in life.
That's interesting. Yeah, and there's a power. You talk about learned behavior, being an introvert.
Absolutely.
I'm also an introvert, so I'm still learning how to be more social.
And you have this popular podcast, and you're an introvert. See, so yes,
never thought
yes,
that I
it
would.
Can be done. Exactly.
That I would do this, but there's a power in learned behavior because you have to break it down and you have to decide, okay, how do I engage with people in a way that's going to make an impact? And I really feel like the fact that you had to do that is part of what makes you such an impactful leader is that you've actually put a lot of thought and intention into it. There are a lot of people out there who things come naturally to them, and so they may not always study it as much or kind of go into detail, but when you have to learn, it gives you a different type of it gives you a different power, a different depth of impact. So
it does.
I could definitely see that in watching the way that you move and the things that you do. I pay attention to we haven't had a lot of in-person conversations, but I pay attention to LinkedIn.
You got it.
And I'm watching all the stuff that you're doing, and it's crazy to think that a person who's doing all of that is an introvert. But,
it is, isn't it? But you know what? I love it because it also helped me be a better mentor and kind of relate to people. Because I can typically see if someone is more introverted, if they're not engaging, I can kind of in some way, more first off a one-on-one kind of bring them out a little bit and get them talking, and then before you know it, maybe they're moving around the room talking to others. So you can see people actually learning that behavior through experience or through observation, as you did. So I appreciate those comments because that's something that I did. It did not come natural. I had to work on it.
Yeah, and then those of us out there who are introverts, we know a little bit about what that's
there
like.
You go. Exactly.
A lot of what we do is learn because we don't like being out there all the time.
That's right.
But
don't like the spotlight. My oldest son Ricky, he teases me all the time. He says, "Dad, you just love being in the spotlight." It's like, no, I really don't. But it's part of what I do. Right. So I try to be. I always taught I have two young men. They're grown men now. I always taught them to, if you're going, whatever it is that you're going to do, try to be the best at it. So for me, in this profession, I try to be the best at it. Do I hit that mark all the time? No, but at least I'm trying.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I try to motivate myself. I have a sports background. I played sports in high school, basketball and football, and I'm very competitive. I'm very competitive specifically with myself, trying to make sure that I improve on where I was at before. So I definitely appreciate that mentality.
I have a bit of that type A in me and very competitive myself. Some people tease me saying that if I don't win, I don't play anymore. And so I've had to retire from a few sports. I used to love playing basketball, but I get out there and my body doesn't do what it used to do. So I don't play as much basketball anymore. But I found other things. I ride bicycles and play tennis and do other things now. And I still, at my age, still get out there and inline skate. I love skating.
Man, that's awesome to stay active and to stay engaged. Just find ways to continue to push yourself.
I have to stay healthy. I have a new grandbaby coming here soon, so I need to make sure that I'm in good shape so I can run around with this young man who's coming, Ricky the Third. He'll be called Trey. So maybe I'll come back sometime and I'll brag more about my grandchild who's coming.
That is kind of awesome. And I know you spoke a little bit because you're a senior, so you talked about. Tell me a little bit about. I know you said you have two sons, but let's talk about Junior.
Sure. I have two wonderful young men. My eldest child is Ricky, Ricky Jr. He goes by Ricky. I lost my name when he was born because, believe it or not, I used to be called Ricky, but after my son was born, his name was Ricky. He became Ricky and I became Rick. So that's why people ask me, I was like, well, because you're grown, you're called Rick now? No, because my son took my name a long time ago. So he's Ricky, I'm Rick. Wonderful young man. He's in the insurance business. He's an entrepreneur, owns property in Kentucky. He and his wife, Casey. Casey is I was told to call this daughter-in-love. I used to say daughter-in-law, but my daughter-in-love. She's my son's wife, and she is an airline pilot. So hopefully, they're going to be moving to Texas from Kentucky. But so that's that side of my eldest son's family. So it's Ricky and Casey and soon to be Trey, who's expected to be born this time next month. And then my youngest is Richard. We all share the same middle name. Is Ricky Wendell Smith Jr. And then Richard Wendell Smith. Which is funny because I grew up not necessarily liking the middle name Wendell that my parents gave me, but I've learned to really embrace that, and now both of my boys have it, so I have a passion for that middle name now as well. But Richard, a wonderful young man, he is actually a professional artist. He studied at the Kansas City Institute of Art. He has a phenomenal talent that he got none of that creative art from me. That's from his mother, who is very artistic herself and can do pretty much anything when it comes to her hands. Richard learned that. A fabulous painter. He does sketching. He does a lot of vibrant color type of art. So wonderful young man. He actually his day job, as he calls it, is working for the Office of Adult Education in Kentucky for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Man. So blessed to have two wonderful young men.
That is amazing. So tell me a little bit when it came to raising your children. You passed on that middle name. You share the connection with the senior, junior with your son. So what are the most important things you learned raising your children?
First off, that both of them are very different. They have a lot of similarities. They look a lot alike. Unfortunately for the poor things, they look a lot like me. But these are wonderful kids, but they're very different. So I learned early on as a father to connect with them at their level. Something that I try now to do with my students. But for my oldest son, he has a passion for cars too. He has a passion for sports. So he and I connected on that level. For him, it was basketball and track and cars. So we can talk basketball, track, and cars all day long. And great time doing that. But my other son, Richard, he wasn't necessarily into sports, but what he was into anime and cartoons and things, and his drawing and video games. So he and I connected that way. We still play video games to this day. I'm not quite as good as I used to be, but I still enjoy playing. He beats me, and we talked about being competitive. I don't like being beat, but through my son, I can accept it a little bit more. Yeah. But cartoons and comic books, he and I, we can talk comic books all day long. I'm kind of a comic book nerd. I've got a comic book collection that dates back to the 60s, believe it or not. Right. And he started that passion. He's got a huge comic book collection. I've actually passed my collection on to him. So he got my comic book collection. Ricky got a vintage car, 1966 Chevy Impala that I have. So again, I connect with them on their level, things that they enjoy doing. And I think that has allowed us to have special bonds with both of them, very different. And we do things all together too. I go out and kind of hang out with my boys and do different things, but I want to make sure that I always have something that really just he and I do. So do that for both of them.
That's amazing. And like you said, I know you say you carry that mindset forward with your students as well.
Absolutely. For me, I have a saying that actually started when I was in healthcare. I had a CEO in Dothan, Alabama, Mr. Ron Owen, who was a great mentor of mine. You'll hear me talk about mentors. I've had different mentors throughout my life. But Mr. Owen, he would talk about in healthcare being all about the patient. Everything that we did in healthcare was all about the patient. And if you think about it, everything from food and nutrition to the folks that in transportation, to the physicians, to the nurses, technicians, everything, they're there to help take care of patients. Well, fast forward to my career in higher education, I kind of take that mindset, and it's all about the student. Everything that we do, our faculty, they're there for our students. Our staff, our administrators, everyone, from security down to the grounds people, everyone, what we do is for our students. Now, could we do it without our faculty? Heck no, we can't do this without our faculty. Everything around the college really stems around them, and Dallas College has some outstanding faculty. And then the administration and the rest of the support team, all the staff, everyone comes together to help make sure that our students are having a great experience. So you'll see me on my campus going to sporting events, and typically I will sit in the student section and try to cheer with them and get to know them and just have a good time, cheer on our student athletes. I mean, I enjoy doing that. That is the thing that keeps me going, and why I'm passionate about this whole higher education journey and the education opportunities we're providing to our students.
Man, that is so amazing. And what I've noticed that because even here at BJP, there's they have the flyers up, come to a game and things like that. So let's talk a little bit about first of all, what teams do we have here at Dallas College, and then how can someone go about being a part of that
Dallas College we've got some fabulous teams. From a sports standpoint, we have esports. So those who are gamers, you can come to I think all of our campuses for the most part and take part in one of the esports teams. We've got women's soccer, which is fabulous. We actually have a soccer game today. Soccer season is just kicking off, to play on words, but they're going to women's soccer. We've got women's volleyball. We've got some fantastic women's volleyball teams. We had Dallas College Northlake. We had a big victory just last night, our women's, because it was our first home opener. We've got men's baseball. We've got some national championship baseball teams. So Dallas College Northlake has a competitive team that's really up and coming, but we have some national championship and some of our other campus baseball teams. So that's wonderful. And men's basketball. At Dallas College Northlake, we have a 5-time national championship basketball. So kind of like the UCLA of community college basketball teams is right here within the Dallas College system. But each one of the campuses, they've got national championships in different sports. So we are well represented across sports in Dallas, and we're so large. We have 7 campuses, 7 colleges. We actually comprise our own conference, so we compete against each other. So I think the old saying, was it iron sharpens iron? So that's exactly what we do. So by the time we make it through our own conference and get to national play, it's much easier because we spent the whole season beating up on each other. But it's a lot of fun. I love sports, love going out supporting our student athletes because I know how hard it is being a student athlete. Just love to go out there and cheer them on.
Man, that is such a powerful. How does a student go about becoming a student athlete?
Just try out. You can just contact any of our coaches on those campuses or any of our athletic directors. We have a system athletic director who's outstanding. But contact anyone affiliated or even contact your president, and they will tell you, here's who to talk to. If you're interested in this, we can get you to the right person. So we encourage that. I think that helps people be more well-rounded when they play sports because there's so many lessons. I played sports myself back in high school and just even after that, kind of pick-up games, et cetera. And was a coach. I coached both my boys. I coached my youngest son in soccer because he's a big soccer player. Coached my oldest son in basketball and coached both of them in track. So a lot of life lessons you can learn through athletics.
Yeah, like there are so many expressions that come from sports
Absolutely.
that for me, like it's business and life, sports and life have a lot of overlap, right? Those two different things, because I have a business background professionally and a sports background, like from a hobby perspective, and I love the way those things overlay into life. The lessons you can learn about hard work, dedication,
work ethic, absolutely,
work ethic,
and you know, working within a team, which that is a great skill set that we take to work every day. You have to be able to work within a larger body of folks, so work within that team. And many people, they learn that originally through athletics growing up.
Yep. And then understanding how different parts of a team interact. So knowing like something as simple as knowing where your teammates are. Like when you initiate an action, let's say basketball, when you initiate let's say you're driving to the basket, knowing where your people are supposed to be, you know, understanding different ways of playing off of each other and reading the defense and being able, like, all of that stuff it's not just a sports thing. Like you can use it in life, whatever you're doing. So
yeah. And the saying, we've all heard this, there's no I in team. I like Kobe's play on this. There's no I in team, but there is an ME. And I won't finish the rest of that. You can Google that and find it yourself. But again, you know, it is that team. You know, typically, you know, in a team, you're not going to win it. No individual, unless your name is Michael Jordan. Even Michael Jordan couldn't do it by himself, who arguably is the greatest basketball player. And, you know, a lot of folks say LeBron. I'm not getting into that debate. They're both great players. But again, those great players they couldn't do it by themselves. They need a team.
You gotta have help.
Absolutely.
So just understanding that helps change the way you move in life too. But I want to kind of shift the focus a little bit to your professional experience. We talked about some of the roles you've held. So I guess, let's see, how do you want to do this? Do you want to start with the first thing you did, or do you want to start with where you are now and go backwards? We'll
start with the first thing I did. You know, my first career was really television news, and so many lessons that I learned in television news that as I reflect back on my professional career, I think one thing really helped lead to the next, because I took a skill or an attribute or an experience from one sector and use that in sectors that kind of culminate to what I'm doing right now. So in television news, when I learned to be comfortable speaking in front of people, I learned to lead people. You know, that's when I first learned, you know, the fundraising and development world and the importance of everyone being benevolent and supporting a cause. I learned that when I first worked, you know, going from television news into healthcare. You know, I spent 23 years in healthcare, had a fantastic career, and had an opportunity to do lots of different things. Again, I mentioned the fundraising, worked with a lot of different, you know, folks that are really poured into me to help me understand the science behind fundraising and the importance of fundraising and being passionate about something that, you know, that you want to help support. So all those careers, so the 9 years in TV, and then the healthcare career that took me around the country and learned all these different things prepared me for what I'm doing right now in higher education. In my opinion, I mean, higher education has evolved, and it needs to continue to evolve. For the most part, higher education, you know, we practice the same model that we've practiced since Harvard first introduced post-secondary education into the United States. And we follow that, and we still do some of the same things. When you look at a graduation, it's very much based on how we did things initially in England, and then Harvard took over and did the same thing. So the regalia that we wear, all the things that we did, that's that model. Well, one of the things that I think is that I love about Dallas College, and I've done throughout my career, is start to be novel and innovative and now weave different things into a higher education experience. For example, in Dallas College, not only are you getting an education, you're getting an opportunity to get experience in the workforce. We have a very stern concentration on workforce development. So our students are getting apprenticeships or internships or any type of experiential learning opportunity. So not only are they getting that education, the academic part, they're also getting a real world experience working within the industry. So throughout my career, as I said, it's kind of helped prepare me for those next things. So everything that I've done throughout my career, I can look back and see, you know, how it applies here today. For an example, I'm comfortable being in the microphone having this conversation with you because I started in television news. I was doing this kind of stuff back in the early 80s. So this actually is home to me. I feel good doing this. And then speaking to people out in the community. Earlier today, I had a great community conversation with a construction partner, but comfortable just having conversation and dialoguing and understanding, okay, how can we work together for the betterment of our students? And we're in in my opinion, the perfect storm, as I call it. We have industry, we've got government, we've got nonprofit, we have post-secondary, all willing to come together to work to resolve issues. I know I took that in a whole different direction there, but when you get me going and get a little passionate about this stuff.
Yeah, and that's really what it's all about, sharing perspective, because where your story takes you is informed from where you come from, like your mentality, your mindset. And obviously the name of the podcast, Mindset Matters, right? So
it does. Perfect.
Everyone has.
That's a segue. I didn't even mean to do it, but I gave you a good segue there.
No, and I love that, because, and that's why I love sharing stories on this platform, is because everybody brings a different piece to the mindset puzzle, and you're able to adopt different mindsets. So, for instance, where you take a particular topic comes from your mindset. And I love that. Like when you talked about education, the expression, I think it's education that works, right? Dallas College. So the focus on workforce development, the focus on practical application, being able to, it informs and improves the way that people learn. It increases academic performance. It increases post-graduation success. The job sector loves it, because now you get students who come in ready to actually, because this is something that notoriously has been an issue in the past, and to some degree still is, where you get people come out of college, they went for their degree, they go into the workforce, and they have a hard time making an adjustment. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
The job is looking at them like, man, you went to college for this, like, why can't you? Because they're not getting those opportunities to practically apply what they're learning. And so I love the fact that Dallas College is focused on providing those opportunities.
Absolutely. I mean, our board is fantastic, and the leadership under our chancellor, Dr. London, implemented this workforce development kind of mindset and approach to higher education. Where, as I said before, I say it often, we meet students where they are, and we give them a pathway that's going to lead to a meaningful paying job. Historically, higher education has gotten kind of a bad rap, because you go through, you do the academic rigor, you graduate, and then you've got this debt, and then you have to go get a job. Too many times people get a job that maybe they're not even applying their degree. But the approach that Dallas College uses is not only do they give students a plethora of different academic pathways, more importantly, as I said, they're tying some workforce element into it. So while you're in school, you're also getting experience, actually hands-on experience doing this. And through our sector work, it's what we call industry-led sector work. What that means is, like I said, for example, I lead construction, as I said before. I've got leaders in the construction, general contractors, folks in the construction industry that are literally sitting at the table with us, identifying ways they can remove barriers for people to get jobs in the construction industry. It could be transportation. It could be, a big one in the construction industry is the perception. Because if you think about construction, people think about working outside, and it's hot in Texas. I'm new here and I'm experiencing it. Is hot in Texas, but I love it. But outside in the heat, throwing bricks, metal sparks flying, all that kind of stuff, that's the perception. And yes, there is some of that, but there is a science behind construction. We have the Capel Center, and every one of our campus has some sort of construction offering where you can get some sort of training. Capel Center, basically, we offer all of it there to learn the science behind construction. So if you want to be a plumber, if you want to be an electrician, or whatever it is you're doing, you can really learn the science behind that and the practical way to do it. So this industry-led process that we have, which is novel, not a lot of colleges are doing that, we have the industry saying, you know what, that's great that the textbook says this, but this is the way we're doing it now, because maybe technology's changed a little bit. So instead of teaching a way that's out of date, we're working with our industry partners to make sure that we're teaching up-to-date curriculum that is hands-on and now. So they're not graduating and then going to work and having to be retrained. They're graduating, going to work, and contributing immediately. And it's better for everyone. Our employers need that. The students need that, because they're graduating and getting meaningful paying jobs. So some of these are getting near six figure type of incomes. They're really well-paying jobs, especially in the construction industry. I don't know if you've had to try to get a plumber or an electrician lately. There's a need. So we're graduating folks that it doesn't take them long to get a job.
Right. Yeah, and I've actually heard multiple professionals say this, like, if you get a trade, you'll never be out of work.
Absolutely.
Never be out of work. Plumbing, electrician, specifically those two are, like you said, are in very high need. I know here at Bill J. Priest, they actually have a cohort for electricians, for electrical, to help students get into electrical. They just graduated recently. And so just seeing those types of experiences, I want to touch on something you mentioned specifically. You talked about partners, right? And so a lot of what Dallas College does is partner driven. Talk to me about the importance of why that's necessary, and then how do you approach creating partnerships to make an impact for students?
Yeah, well, take it back to our previous conversation about teams. Most times, no one person, no one entity can resolve a problem. But when we come together, and I don't like calling them problems, I like calling them opportunities. But when we come together, it's easier to work together to resolve these opportunities. So Dallas College is great about building partnerships. In construction, Texo is one of our partners, one of our conveners. TDI Industries, which is a major construction company, is one of our partners. So we come together, bringing others together to help resolve the different issues. They said removing barriers for that particular thing, construction. But we have lots of different sector areas that we work. Aerospace is one of them. Manufacturing, IT and technology, arts and entertainment, several different areas that we're doing the same type of work, but we're bringing industry in as partners to help us resolve those things. I think the model that we in higher education have practiced for many, many years is we're the academics. We know what's best. We're going to train these students and we're going to send them out. But the reality is, while oftentimes they are getting good training, as I said before, some of that training may be a little bit out of date or may not have in a different twist that an employer is really looking for. So by bringing those partners in, they're helping us reshape our curriculum. They're helping us make sure that our students are getting the type of training while they're in school now, so when they get to work, as I said, they're ready to hit the ground running. So that's the importance of partnerships. And partners do different things. We have other higher education institutions that are partners for us. I just had a meeting with another neighboring university just last week, because we're offering 2-year degrees. We do offer 4-year degrees now too, but many, our niche has been 2-year degrees. And sometimes students, I look at their educational journey almost like a freeway, on-ramps and off-ramps. Some students may want to come to school and get a certificate. And a certificate could be as little as 8 weeks. And you get a certificate, you take that to work, you're specialized in an area, you're good to go. But some students may think, well, you know what, I want to go a little bit further down that expressway using that analogy. They may go get an associate's degree. And then they think, you know what, I can do this kind of work. I'm not afraid of school anymore. I'm not afraid of learning. This is kind of, I'm enjoying this. So they may stay on that expressway, that road, take another ramp off with a bachelor's degree or even an advanced degree. So through the partnerships, Dallas College, if we don't offer the 4-year degree, we have partnerships with university or 4-year colleges where students, if they want to come matriculate through Dallas College for their 2 years, and then once they finish, walk across their stage, get their degree, handshake with the chancellor or the presidents, then they may go on transfer to another college to finish up their 4-year degree or even further. So that's the beauty of partnerships, is we're all working together for what? For the betterment of our students. It's all about the student.
That's right. That's all of education is for student success, because they are the future of society.
Absolutely. And again, can't do it without the faculty. And I can't brag enough about the faculty at Dallas College. I would put our faculty up against, I've been at a lot of different colleges and universities. I put our faculty up against anyone around the country. Hands down. And I say that unequivocally, because they're just really talented faculty that could be anywhere, but they choose to be here because of the work that we're doing at Dallas College. We're reinventing higher education. Our chancellor often uses the term barrier busters. We are definitely that. Yeah. We're busting barriers in higher education.
I love that. And you use partnerships use partnerships as a tool.
Absolutely.
To be able to help to bust those barriers. But one thing, and I was actually talking to Justin about this at our recent Dallas College conference day. I have never seen an organization like Dallas College. Mm-hmm. And, just the way that it has the ability to pivot. Mm-hmm. It operates differently in different situations. Talk to me a little bit about the ability for such a large organization to be able to make pivots. What is it that allows Dallas College to do that from your perspective?
Well, I think it starts with our board, who who has entrusted our chancellor and the leadership team around the chancellor to be able to do that, to think differently, to think outside the box, and to be realistic, to think that, you know what, just because we've done this for X amount of years doesn't mean we have to continue doing it this way, because technology has changed things dramatically. We all know that. I mean, we all know our friend AI now. I mean, who's not using AI for something? But technology, I recently read a report that was done that said 99% of the jobs of the future will be impacted by technology. And that's huge, because technology, when people think about technology, think, well, I may lose my job because of technology. Well, you may lose, some jobs may be eliminated because of technology, but guess what? There are new jobs that are being created because of technology too. So if you go to any of, to many stores now, they've got, the traditional cashier may not be there. You may have just a scanner, your self-check, and all that kind of stuff. So those jobs, some of those jobs may be going away. But guess what? Someone has to install that technology. Someone has to fix it when it breaks, and trust me, it will break. Yeah. Someone has to update it. Mm-hmm. Someone has to monitor it. So while one position may go away, it's creating so many different other positions. Who's programming it? Who's developing it? Because as soon as it's installed, it's out of date. You have to have something else that's going to come in and back it up. So that's exactly. Yeah. So it's an exciting time. It's a scary time, realistically, because change is hard. But those people who embrace change and willing to lean into it, to get back to your question, Dallas College being nimble, that's the beauty of what Dallas College is doing, because it is nimble. It's monitoring. We have people literally looking at best practice and looking at the changes in industries and informing the rest of us on, okay, here's something we need to be aware of that's happening, so we can start planning ahead, so we're pivoting to make sure that our students are getting the best pathway to whatever that thing is. So that's a beautiful thing to be a part of. So it's great to be part of this organization.
Yeah, and it's beautiful to watch that happen in real time, to see something come up and then to see the ability to move agile.
Absolutely.
And nimble, like you said, to be nimble enough to make the adjustment and to continue to provide service for our student body primarily, which is, like you said, that's what all of education is for. So for students or for younger people who are trying to approach building partnerships that can help them to be successful in their ventures, what advice would you give to somebody how to approach creating a partnership that makes an impact?
Yeah, I say first to back up from that, even before that even happens, but to identify some mentors. Have mentors for different things. We talked about LinkedIn. We follow each other on LinkedIn, so I follow what you're doing too. So hats off to you. But something that I did many years ago, and I encourage others to do that, is find someone who's doing what you want to do or think that you want to do. Just find them on LinkedIn, and then look at their background. Look at their education, look at their experiences, look at their posts, look at some of the things they're doing, and then help that inform. Everyone's different, but help that inform what it is that you're doing, because you know that, okay, and that's why it's one of the ways I found my higher education institution where I got my doctorate. I looked at some other people and they had that degree, so I inquired, and that's what led me to where I went to. But oftentimes, what I would do is I'd find people doing certain things, follow them on LinkedIn, and I'd shoot them a message. Say, hey, I noticed you're doing so-and-so. That's wonderful. Do you have 5 minutes that maybe we can have a conversation? I've never been turned down. And I have people that are hitting me up oftentimes now, too, just saying, hey, Dr. Smith, see you doing so-and-so. That's wonderful. Can we have a conversation? And I'm always going to say yes. I may open the floodgates, but that's okay. It may take a little while to get to a person because, again, the schedule is busy. But if I ever get to the point where I'm too busy to give back, then I needed to shut it down, because I always want to give back and help people, because guess what? People help me. My parents were my original mentors, but I've had mentors throughout my life that have helped me. Now, to get to your question about, forming partnerships and relationships, well, it kind of depends on what you're doing. I just mentioned the partnership that we had with a 4-year university. I was in a meeting. They were talking about what they're doing and happened to think, well, wow, we're doing a lot of that too, but maybe you can take it to the next level. So we requested a meeting. they're glad to come meet with us. And now we're putting together a program, working through our academic affairs officers that are kind of putting together a program where you do 2 years with us, then you may do, finish up your 4-year degree there. But it's all partnership. So identify people that are doing or in the space that you want to be in and just ask the question. We're both introverts, but you know what? Introverts, you just sit back. Oftentimes, they're not going to get necessarily where they want to get to. So you have to have that learned behavior to say, you know what, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to approach someone and have a conversation. I'm going to look them in the eye. I'm going to say, hey, I notice what you're doing here. Could I spend a little bit of time and maybe you can share that with me? Most people, they enjoy doing that. Again, for me personally, I can't think of a time that someone said, no, I don't have time for you. So I certainly, that'll never come out of my mouth.
Yeah, and definitely I appreciate that because I knew coming into transitioning from summer to fall, I knew your schedule was going to be busy. And so I'm like, okay, let me see how this is going to flow as far as, and you were consistent with your desire to make it happen.
Absolutely.
And so I can attest to that personally. I appreciate your willingness to work around your schedule and still be here today.
Well, you have an audience here of thousands of people listening to this program, so this is giving us a vehicle to reach a lot of people. And if it helps one person, it's worth it for me just to say, you know what, let me try that LinkedIn trick that Dr. Smith was talking about. Let me find someone who's doing something that I'd like to do, or someone that's sitting home in a job that maybe it's not paying them the salary that they like to have or need to have in their life. They think, you know what, I'm going to go back to school. And then let me check out Dallas College or any of we have so many good colleges around here. Of course, I'm a little partial to Dallas College, but there are other community colleges. There are great 4-year colleges. There's a plethora of opportunities. I'm a big proponent of HBCUs for some people who want to have that HBCU experience. You've got HBCUs here, Paul Quinn and others that are in this area. So just lots of different avenues for people to take if they want to pursue some sort of training. And people think, if you want to set me off real quick, say, well, that person's not college material. You know what? Everyone is college material because everyone needs to have some sort of credential to get a meaningful paying job. And we just talked about, again, technology is changing the world. Now, everyone may not be a 4-year or advanced degree person. That may not be something they desire, but you need to get some sort of training. So Dallas College and other colleges and universities offer certificate programs. You can just go get that certificate, be an expert in a particular area in your niche, and then take that, get a meaningful paying job. And if you ever want to come back and tag back in using my expressway analogy, get back on that expressway, take a little bit farther and get another degree or whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, and education, I love that. Education is empowering, and it helps financially, like your gainful employment. It helps with expertise. Like now you have an expertise on something, and then that can be fulfilling. But even just perspective, like we talked about before in life, education, it's so much more than just the degree or the job that comes with it. It's the perspective that it gives you, the ability to connect with people on a different level, the community that you build moving through education. And that's kind of what I want to talk about next is when I entered the education space, there's a whole world inside of education that you wouldn't really know existed until you go. So the culture inside of education, the support programs for students, the extra things that come with the experience. Talk to me about the importance of engaging with that.
Yeah, it's so important. Like anything, you typically will get whatever you put into it, you'll get out of it, sometimes 5-10 times. If you go to school, be it K through 12 or even post-secondary institution, and you just go to class, keep your head down, just do your work, you'll get an education. If you do your work, and you'll come out and you'll grow from that. But if you go to school and get active with a student group, athletic group, academic group, whatever the case may be, you will have a much more rewarding experience. You and I, before we started talking about PTK. Phi Theta Kappa, Outstanding Honors Association through the community college space. Those PTK students are getting experience to get up and learn public speaking. They're getting exposure to all these different careers. I had an opportunity to go to the national convention in Kansas City this last year, this year, 2025, I get my dates mixed up, and see thousands of students from around the country get up in various competitions, being speaking competitions, planning, strategic planning, all types of things that they did that otherwise I think if they didn't take that first step to learn to do that, many of those students, they may not have been on that path. But they got their confidence there through that organization. So to speak to, as you just said, getting involved, the students in that particular organization took a step. Many of them took a step of faith, got involved in the organization, and it is transformative. This sounds cliche, but a higher education, post-secondary degree is transformative because not only is it helping the individual, which certainly it does. We talked about getting a meaningful paying job. So that helps the individual, but you never know who's watching you. There are people, it could be big brother or big sister who goes and gets the degree. They may be the first one. We have a lot of first generation students that are matriculating through Dallas College. Their siblings are watching and they think, you know what? Big sister, big brother, they did it. Well, I can do it too. And then cousins. Sometimes even parents are watching their children do this and they think, you know what, I'm going to go back to because they did it, I know I can do it too. It changes the trajectory of people's lives, thus the word transformative I think is very appropriate when it comes to a post-secondary degree pathway.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think to shout out student government associations as well.
SGA, oh my gosh, yes.
SGA is such.
You know what? That's the problem. When you mention one, you have to mention all.
Exactly.
So let me back up. PDK is one. SGA. There's so many different student groups.
Yes.
Whatever your interest is, I say, give it a try. You may try one organization, maybe that's not for you. Well, try another one. When I was in high school, we had to take a foreign language class. I took French. I speak just a little bit of French, but I learned so much from my colleagues and my other classmates there. And then I was in an ROTC program, Reserve Officer Training Program. It helped teach me discipline. I had friendships. They gave me the courage and the ability to get up and lead people. That was one of my first leadership positions, as I was the commanding officer for my ROTC unit. We were the #1 unit in the nation, and I had an opportunity to lead that. So that kind of put me in a position that gave me confidence. I think my parents, for my brothers and I, kind of started down that path, but sometimes you just have to go out and get things on your own. So I did that with so many people cheering me on. I say it time and time again, the power of mentorship. Again, we talked about it. I'll say it probably several more times, but find yourself a good mentor. And you have different mentors at different stages of your life. You may have a mentor who's going to help you with public speaking. You may have a mentor that's going to help you with some academic or career space that you're in. And a mentor may be with you for a season. A mentor may be with you for all your life. I have mentors, like I have really two higher education mentors, Dr. Aaron Thompson and Dr. Dora Krauser-Yancey, who are absolutely wonderful people that are available anytime I call them, that have been in my seat. They've been a college president. They've done all these things, so it's not new. You can call people, and that's what the power of mentorship. Call someone and say, well, what would you do in this situation? So, again, whatever it is, you've got someone you can contact. As I said, my original mentor is my father. I remember sitting down with him. We were both trying to navigate. I was coming out of high school and trying to figure out where I'm going to go, what's next for me. Sitting down with the typewriter and dating myself, putting out college applications. This is before FAFSA and all that kind of stuff. But doing that, he is my original mentor, he and my mother. My brothers have been mentors to me. So different point in my life, I've had different mentors that have helped me with different things. So I encourage people to go out and seek a mentor because it can help you down with your journey for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of mentorship, since you've been on both sides, you've been seeking mentorship and you've also given mentorship.
Sure.
What would you say makes a good mentor?
A good mentor to me is someone who will listen. Someone who's not already forming an answer in their head before the person even asks the question, and a person who's able to, as I said before, kind of like Dallas College, meet them where they are. A good mentor will meet you where you are and then work with you, first listening and then identifying, okay, this is what I heard. Where is it that we want to get to? And have an agreed upon destination, if you will. And then let's work on, what you need to get there. It could be, some academic. It could be a set of experiences. It could be just maturity. If you want to get to this point, you need to mature a little bit. I've had that conversation. People had that conversation with me back in my younger years. So whatever it is, a good mentor is going to help fill in whatever that gap, whatever that need is, and be able to be honest and authentic. And having a successful mentor is really, it's not one-sided, it's two-sided. A person who is the mentee has to be willing to accept information. Sometimes things that you don't want to necessarily hear, because they think, well, I had some feedback. One of my mentors, Dr. Yancey, once told me not too long ago. She said, well, Rick, you should have done this. I didn't want to hear that because I thought I was doing it right. She said, no, Rick, you need to do it this way. And I listened to her, and I got the result that I wanted. So no matter how old you are, you can always learn from people, especially people who've been down a journey before. So again, a good mentor, one that's going to listen, one that's going to meet you where you are, someone's going to sit down and plan with you for whatever the desired outcome is. But a good mentor is only as good as the mentee will allow them to be. So a mentee has to be able to accept that information and then say, you know what, I'm going to trust. I happen to be a man of faith, so I will pray on mine. So those others who meditate, some of this means silent time just to think about what it is they're doing. But they have to be able to do that and then work with a mentor, and trust is a big thing, to be able to work with someone they trust to help chart out whatever their path is.
I love that. Yeah, especially the relationship between those two.
Absolutely.
Not just being all on the mentor. And I think one analogy that comes to my mind is GPS, because in order to
there you go.
In order to effectively lead someone to wherever they're trying to go, you first have to know where they are.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of GPSs now, you can put in your current location and you can have it take you. And sometimes you miss a turn. And what does the GPS do?
Recalculating.
Yep, absolutely recalculating, right? And so that's how it is. That's how it is in life too. Sometimes having a good mentor will help you to recalculate.
Yes.
And instead of looking at you and beating you down because you missed the turn, even if they're the one that told you to make the turn and you just went ahead and missed it, they'll stay with you and recalculate. Okay, well, you missed that turn. Let's see, how can we get back to where we're going? Your destination remains the same. The route you take to get there may change.
Absolutely.
And like you're saying, having a good mentor can help you to do that effectively.
And life is the greatest teacher that there is. Throughout my life, through what I would say were some not so positive experiences and positive experiences, I've probably learned more from the not so positive experiences. I've had people that I've worked with that, in my opinion, weren't the best boss in the world, but I learned more from them because I always thought if I got to that point, I'm not going to do that thing. I've had some really good, positive, people that I've reported to that many of them are still in my directory, in my network that I can call upon if needed, that I learn a lot. I am the type that, again, I'm learning every day. My kids tease me because I have a few degrees. We went through some of those, and every time I say, "Oh, I'm done," but I'm actually considering going back getting something else because there's something else that I want to learn a little bit more in. So I probably will go down that journey once again. But again, I learn these things through life, learn these things through others. I'm learning from you. I'm sure you're learning from me. Absolutely, so be open to that, and mentor, as we talked about, a good mentor is going to help it tremendously. Family, faith, if that's the thing that if you're a person of faith, then whatever those things got to help you going. But you got to take care of yourself. I know you didn't ask the question, but a mentor of mine just here recently said, as a college president, one of the things you have to learn to do as you're taking care of everyone else is to take care of yourself. So that's very important too. Mental health. It is okay to be tired. It's okay if you're depressed, but you have to get help. There's so many different resources out here, and it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength for people who need assistance to go get that assistance. And then taking care of themselves through exercise, through eating right, through all those things. You have to be able to do that in order to take care of others. You can't take care of others if you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
I don't know how I got down that road, but hey, it's it.
No, that I needed to hear that for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely needed to hear that because sometimes you get lost trying to help, but it's funny because my mother used to tell me this all the time. The irony of seeing the big trucks that carry gasoline. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen one on the side of the road out of gas?
I haven't, but that's the visual. Yeah.
And so that's the visual she gave me was
like,
don't be that truck. Mm-hmm. Don't have all that value to add to other people. but you're out of gas sitting on the side of the
That's
road.
it.
Like the irony of that.
You can't jumpstart someone else if your battery's dead.
Exactly. So it's just, that's what came to my mind when you said that. And so I have to be mindful. And I'm sure you do as well, like with as much as you do, to take the time to recharge your batteries.
I have to recharge. I'm very much family oriented. I spend time with all my network folks that breathe into me. Yeah. And you have to do this sometimes. You have to step away, because I'm at the point in my life where I do work a lot. I work a lot of hours. Rarely will I say no to a speaking engagement or opportunity to meet someone. But there are times that I just have to step back and do something that's just enjoyable to me, right, in a quiet space, whatever that is, just so I can recharge. Sometimes I may sleep in a little bit and take that time. It is important. You have to take care of yourself in order to do whatever it is that you aspire to do.
And as introverts, we recharge our batteries in solitude. So
absolutely,
we have to have the time to shut everything else out just to be able to reset.
Yes.
For extroverts, they recharge their battery around other people, so they may seek to be more social, and that recharges their battery. So right. I think there's an importance in understanding what recharges your battery too, and making sure to honor that so that you can.
There are many times where people say, well, I was in this thing and I'm working the room and I'm all around the room. They look around and say, where'd Dr. Smith go? Oh, I bounced. Yep. Because I did my thing. I'm out of here. Y'all keep having fun. You keep doing your thing. Hey, I'm going home and get some sleep.
Yeah, that's necessary.
Absolutely.
That's necessary. And I like that approach too, because you still showed up.
Sure.
Which is good. And it's okay to show up to things. You don't have to close down the establishment all the time.
No, not at all.
You can show up, get a little bit of engagement in, and then bounce if that's what you need to.
It can mean so much to people, just spending a little bit of time. I mean, time is the best gift that you can give people. So I try to take time. On my campus, I try to walk the campus every day. At least every day that I'm there, I'm walking the campus, just getting to meet people. Literally, before I came here, I just spent some time with our IT folks, because again, we can't do what we do without our IT folks. Yeah. So hats off to them. They keep me going. But I want to spend time with them. Took lunch, spent a little time, told them about myself. They opened up, talked about, and there's no agenda. Just sit down, kind of get to know who I am. I get to know who you are as individuals, not as president and whatever it is they're doing, just as people. So I spend a lot of time walking around the campus doing just that. And then again, the thing that I think is great about this job is I get to do that to the community too, because a large part of my job is community facing. I'm representing Dallas College North Lake campus specifically, and making partnerships and making relationships that will help the college, which ultimately helps our student, faculty, and staff.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
Especially at your position.
Yes.
To have such a hand in being able to steer how that happens is amazing.
And I'm having a great time doing it because I love what I'm doing. And that's what I encourage people to is find something, and this sounds a little bit cliche too. My father taught me this a long time ago, but find something that if you could, you would do for free. Now, don't tell our chancellor. I'm sure he's not going to listen to this or watch this. I'm sure he is. But if I could, if I were a person of means like that, I would do this job for free. I need my paycheck. Let's be clear. I need my paycheck. However, I enjoy what I'm doing. So my point is, find something that you enjoy doing. And through experiential learning, which is externships, apprenticeships, job shouting, those are the things that you can kind of get a sample of what it would be like to do that thing. That's why it's so important. And getting back to where we talked before about what Dallas College is doing, in my opinion, just an outstanding job, is giving students those experiences while they're in school. So you're not graduating with a degree and then realize at the end of it, it's like, I don't even like doing this. Then you've gone through all this school, all this money, all this time, and realize, I don't want to do this. And sometimes you have to start over again. But if you get some type of experience while you're doing that, you might be able to pivot right then. We talked about pivoting, being nimble. Students have to be able to pivot and be nimble too, and realize that, you know what, I spent a semester doing this, had some experience working in this company, this industry, XYZ sector, whatever the case may be, but I'm not passionate about this. Well, pivot. Find something else that you are passionate about. Find something that, again, you would do, if you could, for free. Yeah. And this, for me, is a career in the post-secondary sector.
That is amazing. Yeah, and it's not, doesn't feel like work.
No, that's why, I get up happy, ready to get in, to tackle the next day.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's a good perspective to have, and I hope that all of our listeners are able to adopt that as well. So the next thing I want to talk about is entrepreneurship, because I know we talked a little earlier. You said you had multiple entrepreneurial ventures.
Yes, absolutely.
So what do you think was most valuable for you in allowing you to enter and then, when necessary, pivot inside of those entrepreneurial ventures?
Passion. It's similar to what I was just saying, being excited about what you're doing, but passion for me fueled my entrepreneurial aspirations and paths that I took. My first entrepreneurial venture was actually just a public relations and marketing business. Because coming from television news, spending time at that time, I was mid-level career in healthcare. Found that I was pretty good at doing public relations and marketing. I was really good about putting together media packages and videos, and saw that there was need. So I said, you know what, let me see if I can make a living out of this. So I did this for about 3 years, and my children were younger at that time. I had just what I call Smith Communication Solutions. It later evolved into Smith Consulting Solutions, which is still out there, but just doing consulting. Initially we were just doing media relations, crisis communication, training people how to be interviewed, putting together educational videos, those type of things. That involved into other work, doing other consulting and business strategy. I did diversity type of training, those types of things when I was certified from Cornell University. Lots of different things that I did because I enjoyed doing them. And later I took a real leap of faith. I had a passion, I talked before about cars, love cars. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take that passion and see if I can turn it into a career. So I bought a failing car lot, breathed a little new life into that. It was called One Stop Motors. We renamed it One Stop Motors, and then we sold cars and had an enjoyable time doing it. But get to your point about sometimes you have to pivot and redirect. Did it for about 3 years, and then I realized, you know what? This wasn't for me. This is not something. While I enjoyed doing it, I want to go back to just being a hobby instead of depending on a paycheck doing this. So I got out of that business and got back into higher education, healthcare at that time, and kind of continued my healthcare career until my career journey finally led me to higher education, where again, as I said, I found my passion.
Man. So what do you think are some warning signs that it's time to pivot? When it comes to pivoting, what do you see?
When the alarm clock goes off and you think, oh no, I don't want to go do this. When you start dreading what it is that you're doing, where you have to get motivated every day. It's okay to get to a point where it's like, oh man, it's Monday, let me get up and go to work, whatever the case may be. But that gets to be like a consistent thing. You might want to reconsider and pivoting and doing something else. So that's the biggest thing for me, is it's like if it's not fun anymore, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, and if you're not doing it maybe for a bigger cause, being again my passion, higher education, helping people find a pathway to help better their lives and better the lives of their families. So when that type of energy subsides, you're not doing those type of things, it may be time to look at maybe something else.
Okay. Now, like inside of, let's say, for instance, you're doing something and maybe the pivot isn't leaving to do something else, but just changing the way, because we talked about how Dallas College pivots inside of its mission. What are some early signs that it's time to make a nimble adjustment while still pursuing the same goal?
Yeah, I think you have to look at kind of keep a pulse on best practice around the country, around the world, see kind of where the things are going. For example, in the construction business, now you'll see companies starting to implement AI. We talked about AI. They're talking about remote use of machinery, talking about using drones to do different things. When you start looking at, okay, here's where things are going, you have to be nimble enough to say, okay, you can't just run out and do that. There has to be training. There has to be investment. For our construction partners, they're partnering with us, Dallas College, because someone has to be trained to operate this new stuff. So we're doing that and then sending them out there to do so. But you always have to have an eye on the future, because you may end up like some of the the big popular companies that are no longer with us, like Blockbuster and Toys R Us, some of those things that were staples in our lives. Kmart, for those that grew up with Kmart as their go-to store. You don't see many. I don't know if there are any of them anymore, but those type of things that, I'm not saying that they weren't nimble, but those are examples of if you don't change, then sometimes you may go away like the dinosaur.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you have to adapt to survive.
Yeah, you don't see many blockbusters these days because of the streaming services.
They're out of there altogether.
Exactly.
I think Netflix is what kind of pushed them out the door.
Absolutely.
And there was
Amazon changed how people shop.
Yeah.
Now you have Walmart.coms and things like that are I don't know the numbers off the top, but a large part of their retail is through online service. But Amazon is really one of the early ones that introduced changing how we do things, changing how retail is done. And again, someone had the foresight to think that
let's do
things are changing. Let me try something a little bit different here.
I think that's huge, is the innovation piece, because sometimes you pivot to adapt and survive, and sometimes the pivot is innovation. It's sometimes you change the entire nature of how something is done, and I think it's a complementary but unique skill.
Absolutely.
What would you say separates an innovator from someone who pivots and adapts in order to survive?
Well, to me, they're almost synonymous. I think innovator typically has that ability to pivot because again, innovation. There's so many different types of innovation, but you have to, to use the old card, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Those that hold them too long, oftentimes aren't very successful. But those who fold them and move on to the next are probably going to be more successful. So I think really have to have a bit of both to be able to be successful, have that innovation and able to pivot to do other things. Yeah,
I agree. I think they are interconnected and complementary. I think a lot of forecasting is just strategic planning.
Absolutely.
Like you said, being able to look at what's actually happening. And sometimes you have to try to predict like what's happening next, what's going to be the next thing. And some predictions are correct, and then some of them are off. And
exactly.
It's like, man, okay.
When I was a kid, especially at Christmas time, vivid memories, and I'm really dating myself now, but come time for Christmas, and you're like looking at your Christmas list, and just you want to do these different things. You had the Sears wish book was what we had. It was a big old giant book. Everyone waited for their Sears book to come, and you circled your toys, circled things that you were hoping to get. No one knows. Those catalogs don't. I don't know if they exist anymore because now you go online, you look at the things, and then that's how you develop your wish list. But that's an innovation. When I was a kid in the 60s and 70s, again, it was totally different. And actually online wasn't even a thing at that time. But now, look at how we are right now. We talked about this Amazon and how technology has changed things. It's totally different from how things were. But someone had that insightfulness to be able to say, okay, I'm going to plan differently because this way that we used to do things is no longer going to be effective. I need to innovate and expand. And again, bragging on my employer again, that's what Dallas College is doing in the higher education space. They're integrating more workforce development and partnerships with others, be it government sector, nonprofit organizations, industry, to be able to reinvent how education is done.
Yeah, and it's inspiring to see that, I'm taking cues from how they do that with what I'm doing as well, and just watching even the way you develop and maintain and cultivate partnerships as well. But you talked about the Sears, so this isn't a transition here. You talked about those books.
Yeah.
Right. So speaking of books, right, we talked about earlier you're an author, right?
That's pretty good pivot there. I like where you did that. Yes.
So, I mean, and I love reading. I love books. So, like, first of all, what drove you to write the first book?
Yeah. I think what drove me to write the first book, They Keep Moving the Goalposts, How to Move Around Obstacles and on the Opportunities. It's available on Amazon for anybody to care to check it out. That was really a culmination of my professional journey of sometimes disappointment, sometimes sometimes tapping out too early, and then sometimes sticking to it to be able to get to where you want to go to. In that book, mentorship is really the staple of what that book is all about, is identifying mentors. I put some tips on how to identify a mentor, the power of that, and kind of weave it around my story. My coming up. We talked about the different careers and how each one of them kind of led to the next. I think that is chronicled in that book, and then weave in a few tricks of the trade, if you will, on how to get to certain things. So I don't want to give it away. Go to Amazon and get it. But more importantly, it is the power of mentorship. is the power of resilience and just stick-to-itiveness to be able to identify a goal and get there. And most times you're not going to get there by yourself. You're going to get there because you've built a network of people that will help you get there. And then once you get there, you got to reach back and help others get there too. So that's why, again, when I talked about the little LinkedIn trick, reaching out to people who are doing what you want to do and just sending them a message and see if you got a few minutes. I had just not too long ago, there was a president, college president, who I just admired on LinkedIn, just doing some fabulous, really novel stuff. So I connected with him, shot him a message on LinkedIn and said, hey, do you have 5 minutes to talk to me? And he said, sure. Got with his executive assistant, scheduled some time. We spent about 2 hours on a video call just talking. Told me his journey, told me things that he did, wish he could have done differently, things he did that were successful, and said, we looked at what I did. He actually, while in that call, said, send me your CV. He took time, went through my CV and said, these are good experiences. This could lead to that, X, Y, Z, all that kind of stuff. But the point of this is, if you reach out to someone and ask for 5 minutes, oftentimes you're going to get more than 5 minutes. I got more than 2 hours with this very high-profile, distinguished president of a university who spent time. So now he's in my network. Gave me a cell phone number. You got a problem, call me. So it's wonderful to be able to do that. And again, that goes against that that demeanor that both of us were talking about having being an introvert. That's a very more extroverted type of thing, but that's a learned behavior. So hopefully, people may be watching and listening to this think, let me give it a shot. I may be an introvert, but let me step out on faith and reach out to someone and see if they might be able to help pour into me.
Yeah, I love that. And again, the importance of getting out of your comfort zone.
Out of the comfort zone. It's important. Absolutely.
So let's talk about the second book. I know this one hasn't been released yet. So tell me about what the process was for writing that one.
I'm really excited about the second book. The second book stems back to the title of it is Say It With Your Chest, Your Purpose is Your Power. Let me tell you a little bit about how I came to that title. Now, Say It With Your Chest, oftentimes people say, they kind of credit that to comedian Kevin Hart because he had a skit where he talked about say it with your chest. Well, that really wasn't my motivation for that. My father used to tell us sons that, say it with your chest, speak up, look people in the eye, give them a firm handshake. So he would say a version of that to us. And basically it's the same thing is this book really chronicles where the first book, They Keep Moving the Goalposts was challenges and opportunities and sticking with whatever your goal is. The second book is now you're here, now what? How do you operate in this new thing that you asked for? So if it is, for me, it's a college presidency. For others, it could be a director position or a coordinator position or a new career space that they're in. You're here, now what? So nonverbal cues, as we talked about, looking folks in the eye and doing those type of things. Speaking with confidence. Visual cues, even dress and attire. I've mentored some folks that, they're trying to get to a position, but they may come in with sweats and shorts on. It's like, well, first thing you may want to do is look around you. Is anyone else dressed like that? Well, if this is a space you want to be in, you might want to make some changes in your attire or hygiene, whatever the case may be. So this second book really talks about some of those things and gives some really neat, easy to implement things that you can do to help you along your journey. Both of them are quick reads. They're like 60, 70 pages, so it's not something that's going to take. I'm a slow reader myself, so I said when I started writing myself, I wanted kind of quick hits. I wanted things that people can pick up and read. Or for me, I use Audible. There's a Audible version of it that you can go through and in a few hours' time get through it and hopefully take away some trades that might help. Exactly, micro reading.
I love micro learning because it's and you can do it even with the assistance, like you said, of AI. Mm-hmm. Some concepts and ideas you can feed it information and ask it to synthesize it, and that kind of allows you to shorthand, be able to use something immediately. But there's also beauty in the depth as well, taking the time to go in depth. But like you said, with time, sometimes you have to pivot between doing both of those, but never stop learning.
Well, I think I'm constantly trying to learn and learning new things, learning from people. I don't listen to, I enjoy music. I don't listen to a lot of music in the car these days because I think I try to make my time as productive as possible. So oftentimes when I'm in the car, especially traveling, and I travel a lot, if I'm not flying or driving or whatever the case may be, I have an audiobook or a podcast. I say, okay, I want to get better at this. This week I'm trying to get better at learning more about policy. So I'm listening to podcasts about policy, education policy, and how we implement policy to help get us to the point where we want to be at. So I encourage people to do. There's so many different things that you can use now. YouTube, Spotify, all the different ways that you can acquire information that's free. It's out there for you to be able to just go get it. So being a captive audience in a car, I'll just pop in one of those things, and that's what I'll listen to till I get there. So I'm helping expand my knowledge in a particular area just by listening to one of those vehicles to allow me to do so.
Yeah, and speaking about all of the different ways that you can find things, just as a point of emphasis, one, where can people find your first book, and when and where can they find your second?
The first book came out on my birthday, which was November 27th of last year. That was when the first book came out. It is available on Amazon. Just a quick search. If you go to Amazon, it's Dr. Rick W. Smith. Or you can put in They Keep Moving the Goalposts. It'll pop right up. The next book will come out in November. I said, you know what, I'll try to publish a book a year because, again, I do have a busy schedule, but writing is a passion. So the next book will be out in November. The Say It With Your Chest book. Again, I really enjoyed both of them, but I'm really partial to this second book, honestly, because I feel like it's just some really good practical tools that people can have. And then I've got a book that will come out probably in the spring. It's about HBCUs, which I'm really passionate about, HBCUs and community colleges, and how the two can work together to help give students the most meaningful experience.
Man, that is such amazing, because I love to read.
Mm-hmm.
I do some creative writing, but I haven't really stuck to it. So I mean, it's always nice to see someone who's so busy be able to carve out time to write.
Well, there you go. Well, I'll be waiting to purchase your first book when it comes out, because now you're on the spot. You said it. Everyone heard it. So we're waiting for that book.
I'm gonna have to work on that.
Yes, absolutely.
But I know I want to be conscious of your time.
Sure.
So before we close, I do want you to speak to our audience, to our young students, just about if they're looking at you or anyone as like, how do I get to this point in my life from where I am? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I really would tell folks just to stick to it. I mean, I wasn't born Dr. Rick W. Smith Sr. I was born Ricky Smith. Very much starting point like many of us have. I was blessed to have two wonderful parents to kind of help me along my journey. But those who may not have those parental models, they're adults or folks that will care about you, that will pour into you. So I tell people all the time is to, first off, live life to the fullest. Enjoy whatever time we have on this earth, but also find something where you could make a difference. For me, it was higher education that was informed by all the things that I did before. But find something that you're passionate about, get people around you in your network that will help you get there, and then go do it. Just go do it. Because really, it as we said before, change is hard, change can be scary, but if you don't take that first step, if you think about a toddler, they have to take the first step before they can walk. They have to walk before they can run. So I like running. I'm running through higher education right now, and I'm having a great time. You got to crawl before you do all that. Exactly. I missed a step. Thank you. But you have to be able to do all that. So I encourage people just to stick to it, identify their goals, put their network around them, and then just go for it.
I love that.
And I'm here for anybody. Hit me up on LinkedIn. If you want to spend some time talking, I will find time. We will talk, and whatever I can do to help folks, I'm here to do it.
Absolutely. Such a powerful message.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for taking the time to come spend here and to do this podcast.
Well,
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. This is fun. Yeah.
If you found this episode to be helpful, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and always remember, mindset matters, and success is only for the hardworking. So.